Hello, my name's Thomas O'Regan, and over the last 4 years, me and my wife have 20x'd our property portfolio's equity position. I'm a professional property investor here in Australia. Now, I just wanted to talk about capital allocation. As an investor will have to understand how to do that if they want to be successful at all. Now, capital allocation is about using money to make money, okay? That's essentially the skill of an investor. The point of investing is to use money to make more money, okay? So let me give you a bad example of what someone would do if they were not very good at allocating capital. So for example, you give somebody $1 million, and what they do is they put it in the bank and they get 4% interest per year, and they're getting 4% on their money. To be frank, you are pretty much losing money, not like physical money, but the value of your money is disintegrating as time goes on. It's being devalued. So the 4% you're getting isn't even enough to keep the same value intrinsically of what you initially put in the bank. So that is a bad use of capital. Let me just give you another example that would be better. So let's say, for example, you have $1 million and you want to buy you don't want to buy an investment property, you just want to put the capital towards creating a better investment outcome. So you buy a property that's $1 million, and let's say you're targeting a 7% compounding growth rate in a property, which is pretty easy. It's pretty easy to find a property that's got a 7% compounding growth rate, and you buy it as an investment property, all cash, just to keep the example simple, you put in $1 million, it costs $1 million, boom, you've done the deal, and the property is increasing by 7% compounding per year. So in the first year, it's going up by 70 grand, and so on and so forth. Now, because it's an investment property, it has rental income as well. So your total return isn't 7%, it's 7% plus the rental income minus the cost. But we're not going to get into the cost right now. We're just going to do a simple example of how to allocate capital better than a novice. Okay, so whatever that return is, it doesn't matter. But say we want we need that $1 million we started with back. We need that money to be available to reinvest. That's what I would do with the money. I would reinvest it, right? You could do whatever you want with it, but here's just a little picture, little step by step, how you could allocate money, how you allocate capital better than somebody that will put it in the bank. So you buy the property, 7% compounding growth rate, and then you refinance the property. And just keep the example very simple. You refinance the property for $1 million again. So you now own a property, you have $1 million loan on it, and then you have $1 million of equity in cash. What's this $1 million of equity doing that's in cash? Okay, it's offsetting the loan. So your loan payment, although you have $1 million of cash in the bank, and you have a property, and you have $1 million of debt, your interest payments on the debt is zero. There's no payments because the loan, the equity is offsetting the cash, okay? You're still getting rental payments, just remember that. So, and you're still getting 7% growth rate per year on the property, and you're still getting rental income. So already from the person that was just putting the money in the bank, they're getting a 4% return, you're getting a return far better than that. Great. Now, what happens if you then start using that equity? What happens if you then start using that equity for other investments? Okay, so as soon as you use that other equity for other investments, you're going to have to start paying interest on what you draw on. So say, for example, if you draw $100,000 out to invest it somewhere else, you will have to start paying interest on that money, because now you have, say for example, you took out $100 of the equity to reinvest it into something that's also high returning. Maybe your loan with your bank is 6%, so you're going to have to start paying a 6% interest only, or interest on the debt that you take out, okay? So What is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing because you have rental income. The rental income is going to cover it depending on how much rental income you're getting. Now, assuming that you're getting at least on $1 million property, you're getting at least $6,000 of rent per year, then you're still, this property is still producing like a 7%. This first property is still producing a 7% compounding capital growth rate per year, which is 70 grand in the first year, plus you're not losing any money because the rental income is covering the interest. Now, what might you want to do with that $100,000? Okay, so you might want to use that $100,000 to buy another property. So you would use that $100,000, maybe you buy a property that is another, let's say it's just a $500,000 property at this point. Now, the way that I'm just going to point this out, the way that I invest is when I purchase a property, whatever the loan repayments are for either the property or the portfolio, whatever it's costing me to draw on that loan and pay that interest, I want the rent to cover that entire cost as well as all the other outgoing costs of the property. Okay, so as time goes on, I'm just using debt, I'm using leverage to take that initial cash position into an equity position, and then I'm using that equity position to control and own as much properties as possible that are all compounding and growing in value. Okay, so the properties are compounding, growing in value. I'm growing the asset base. If the asset base started with zero, for example, I just had $1 million cash, then it was $1 million. I bought the first property, then I bought the second property, maybe it was another $500,000, and the whole time the property portfolio's value is growing, it's compounding, and I'm using money to make money at the same time as the rental income is covering all the expenses. Now, I hope that wasn't too confusing, but yeah, if you guys want to allocate some, if you guys have money, definitely try and put it towards its best use because money is used to make money. That's about it. Cheers. Bye.